Use the Force, Luke.
Live long and prosper.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
By Grabthar's hammer, what a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming. You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, old Kermit the Frog.
Your ties are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 121 of A Play on Nerds. We are nearing the end of an era here. We are continuing our... Oh, I forgot to introduce us.
Oh, yes.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Jarman.
And we're here to co-host the living hell out of this thing.
That's right.
So as I said, we're coming to the end of an era. This week we finished the last Muppet movie review and our long-standing review of all the Muppet movies to appease me and all the Star Trek movies to appease Jarman.
The last movie possibly
the
ever.
Last one.
Hopefully not ever.
I hope not, but I hope the next one's good.
Yes.
Whatever they make next, I hope it's okay.
Because Disney owns it now, so they shouldn't give up on the property.
Yeah, man. I hope they're going to do something with it, but every time I go to Disney, they have nothing out.
Yeah, nothing yet.
I don't know. Muppet Babies is doing well, though, so that's good.
The Muppet Show did not do very well.
No, it did not.
The Muppets Office take.
But this week we're going to talk about Muppets Most Wanted, which is a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
In terms of Muppet films. But before that, Jarman, what have you been up to since last we spoke?
So quite a bit. I went out to Denver to visit my sister. My sister is getting married and out in Denver. So my mother and I went out to visit her and explore wedding venues and that kind of thing. Very cool. And a lot of beautiful places out in Denver. So it was a nice trip and she's very excited. And so is her fiance. And I like this guy, which is great. It's always bad if you don't like who your sibling is marrying, but I like this guy. He's awesome.
Good.
Yeah, a couple. Good. They're kind of hippie-ish people. They like going to like the music festivals. They love living out in Denver in the wilderness. So it's good times. What you don't expect going to Denver if you live in Florida all your life is that you go from a humid place to a dry place. And within 2 days, your nose is just dried out and bleeding because your body is not used to the dryness.
Well, and you got to stop putting crayons up there, Jeremy.
Well, that's always unhelpful. Yeah, that's true. So a lot of bleeding from the nose, but otherwise, Denver is a beautiful place. Also, my back went out. Which is great.
Jarman sent me some fun hospital pictures.
Yeah. So if my mom's listening to this, don't worry, I'm fine now. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but it happened.
Sorry, Karen. I helped him cover it up.
I didn't want to freak you out, but it went out and I couldn't. I didn't want to trouble you because you have a lot of work. And I had my friend Thomas, big dude, my personal trainer who in the past, he came out and helped pick me up off the floor and take me to the hospital. And I had some drugs put into me. And I got a lot better. But my lower back has a lot of problems. And now I'm feeling so much better. I have anti-inflammatories. I've got painkillers, and it's going well.
Good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
Yeah. But soon I'm going out to the West Coast to visit Steve in person. This is going to happen.
That's right. Mind you, you're also visiting some other stuff. Like you're doing like a whole tour.
Yeah. The girlfriend and I are starting off in Vancouver. And then we're going, so sorry, Sean Vanderloo, we're not going over to your side of Timmins in Canada, but we're going over to Vancouver in Canada and then driving down to Portland, then to Seattle, then to Eureka, California with the Redwood Forest. And then we're going down to Sonoma and then down to San Francisco where Steve and his lovely wife are going to join us. And then we're going to San Jose where they live and visit the kid and see their place. And it's going to be a great trip.
And go to the Winchester Mystery House.
That's right. And have a live recorded episode of A Play on Nerds yet again. The second one ever. That's going to
be a very special episode.
I
lied to you about all the others.
They've all been
this
special.
One will actually be a very special episode.
Yes, it'll be fantastic. And to celebrate this eve before we go on the trip, I have been out drinking with friends. So this episode is a little bit of a drunken episode for Jarman.
It's brought to you by alcohol.
Yes, because I don't drink much these days anymore. I've actually stopped drinking a lot at all. But tonight we've been celebrating. I haven't been driving. I've just been having a good time. Went to a karaoke bar
That's right. He rolled home.
I sang Moon Dance by Van Morrison out in the karaoke bar. It was fantastic. And I also watched Muppets Most Wanted earlier today. So I've had a good day.
Right.
It's been a good day.
Man, he just partied all day.
Yeah. So that's been my couple of weeks. What have you been up to, Steve?
Oh man. So holiday weekend just happened and I had Monday off, and man, I had a holiday weekend adventure.
Oh, because Memorial Day. Yeah.
Yeah. Memorial Day. So Saturday we get up bright and early and we get the kid out of bed and we go to the Uvas Canyon County Park.
Oh, how far away is that?
45 minutes away.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's a big canyon with beautiful creek running through the middle and all these different tributaries in there. 9 scenic waterfalls. It's just a small creek. Like when I say waterfalls, I think you're imagining too much already. But and we took the kid and did some hiking, and it was beautifully cool down by the water, and the kid got to splash around. It was great.
Nice.
Then, so I get a text from my buddy Sean, and he says, hey, work is having this short film competition, and we've got to roll a guy with a wife and kid. Would you guys be interested in doing some quick filming for it?
Oh.
And I say, sure, why not? I look at the competition. It's a 2-minute film competition. I figure, how long could that take? So he sends the script, and the script has all these crazy locations in it.
For a 2-minute movie.
Right. So then he's like, great, we'll be there at like 2 or 3 to pick you up. And we're going to go out to the Seaside Cliff. And I said, where's that? He goes like, well, the place I want to go is an hour and 40 minutes away.
Ooh.
So I get in a Jeep and drive an hour and 40 minutes out to a beach. As we are pulling in, he looks over to me and goes, so Steve, how do you feel about climbing?
Okay.
I said, Sean, what kind of climbing? He's like, well, the place I want to get the shot from is kind of off the path. And then he kind of went, you'll see. Don't worry about it. So we're at like a public county beach. We walked on this path. There's a path off to the side, followed around, and I get up to this really nice kind of like raised sand area with a really good view behind it. And I was like, oh, that's what he's talking about. Oh yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with this. And he goes, well, actually, I want to go up there. And he points to like a 50-foot like rock and sand dune that he wants me to now climb up to get this shot that he has in his mind.
Right.
So I climb up. I hate heights. I
didn't know this. All our years of friendship, yeah. I did not know you hated heights because we live in Florida. How would I know?
It doesn't come up often.
Yeah.
I hate heights. I get panicky and woozy and dizzy.
Oh no, I didn't know.
So I'm like now like 50 feet up. Just feeling awful. And he finally realizes that he's not going to get what he needs out of me if I feel this way. So he lets me go back down. We go down to the nice spot I saw earlier. We film the thing, and then we drive an hour and a half in to this lake. And he tells us we're going to this park.
Okay.
And then as we're going there, he reveals, well, it's not actually a park. It's a place that when I do my motorcycle rides, I like sneak off the road to smoke cigars.
Okay.
So now we're just pulling over on the side of this like public road next to a reservoir. And he's just parking, and we're just wandering out into the brush.
Okay.
To get this other shot by the, oh my God. And then
what are you doing in these shots? Like, are you acting or saying things?
So in the beach one, I'm like meditating.
Okay.
In the waterside one, I'm also meditating. And so those are the 2 we do. So we do those. They screw around with a drone that they're convinced they're going to use
for like high shots and that
for
kind
a while.
of thing.
And then they realize they don't have the expertise, but it took 45 minutes to get to the point where they would admit that it wasn't going to happen. So I'm just standing around for all this shit, missing out on my weekend with my family.
Hoping for fun.
So then I say, well, there's a scene where you need me to dive onto my knees and like scream. And then there's a scene where they wanted me to break watermelons with my feet.
Okay.
So I say, we're going to do that here. And he goes, oh, actually, I decided we need different locations for that. So then we have to go just drive out into this wooded area to find a clearing that has suitable light for him. I do another shot. And then we drive up to the top of a mountain. What? The top of a mountain. There was like a state park up there. That's the only reason I knew for a fact that we were on top of a mountain. Looking for another place to do this watermelon smash. So we're up in the middle of friggin' nowhere. We pull over on the side of the road. We get out to do this watermelon smash. We haven't seen anyone in 20 minutes. First person that pulls up is a ranger.
Oh. Okay.
So now we're in trouble.
Because
we're told we got to get the hell out there. Not because we're in like restricted area. His concern is that we are parked on the side of the road.
Okay.
So we say absolutely. They hurry up, film it. I crush 2 watermelons. And then we get in the Jeep and then we drive like 40 minutes off. All of a sudden, like 7 hours of my day is just gone.
Wow. For a 2-minute film.
Yeah. And then the next day I went back and did 5.5 more hours.
Oh my God.
So because I had to spend all that time, now mind you, Joyce got to be in the movie and that was fun.
All right. Your daughter got to be in the film.
But because I felt bad about missing out on so much time because of this stupid thing, Monday I said, you know what, let's do something special. Let's get up early. And we went to the Oakland Zoo.
That's the pictures I saw. That was great.
Yeah. So we headed up to the Oakland Zoo, saw some animals, which Joyce still does not give a shit about animals.
Oh, damn.
She just does not care.
She's talking now to say you're wrong.
Yes. Oh my God, she is. She's saying that she's a butterfly. But there was lots of playgrounds and she literally just ran the entire time. It was amazing.
Tire herself out.
Did the carousel at the end and then we went home.
That is a crazy weekend.
I saw so much of Northern California, it hurts me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because you drove so far out.
Oh my gosh, we drove everywhere.
And I need to mention that the weekend we're going to see these folks, it's going to be their first night ever without your child since your kid's been born.
First night away in 2.5, almost 3 years. Coming up on 3 years.
So, audience, I'm giving him the opportunity to be away from his child for one night.
That's right. One night only.
And we'll be recording that night.
It's like an exclusive event in Vegas.
And I'm going out to the store and buying 2 microphones tomorrow to bring with me on the trip because I don't have any like cheap travel microphones anymore. I had one that had a Play on Nerds thing on it. I took to Dragon Con
I remember that.
And it broke. I dropped that microphone and it broke. It was $30. It was cheap. So I'm just going to get 2 more cheap like travel microphones to bring with me to the trip and we'll be on the personal recorder. We'll be doing that. So it'll be fun.
Well, good.
Because we'll also have our ladies on that podcast. So Steve's wife and my girlfriend will both be on this podcast. They put up with us for these many years doing this podcast. So
yeah, Anna for a real long time, like 4 or 5 years now, has been putting up with this crap.
Exactly. Because we came up with this idea at your brother's wedding to do this podcast.
Jeremy and I were real drunk and under the influence of some other things and started to come up with just really crazy ideas. And we sat and riffed for like an hour and a half while like conversations happened around us.
And I think we would have done it though, but I think Anna and some other folks said this is worth putting on a podcast. Otherwise, we wouldn't have thought of this. They told us we were.
We were dumb enough to believe them.
Exactly. So it'll be an interesting episode coming up soon.
But now on to the rest of our episode.
Yes.
Here's some nerd news.
Nerdy news.
It's time for Nerdy News.
I always say nerd news. That's not right.
All right. So I know last episode, if you guys listened to the last episode, I talked about how I was disillusioned from the paranormal. And I said the one thing that could come up that will still be interesting to me because everything else just disappoints me is UFOs and alien stuff. Yeah. This is a completely undeniable scientific story. That's why I'm bringing it up right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
I always check out Mysterious Universe. They have a great podcast, great website for blogs and posts. Brett Tingley wrote this article about extraterrestrial organic matter found in remote South African mountains. So this is completely scientific, no weird conjecture here. This is just very fascinating. In the Makhonwa Mountains in South Africa. Sorry if I mispronounced it. They found organic molecules discovered deep in the earth inside volcanic sediment from over 3.3 billion years ago. This is the first of its kind, and the origin of these molecules are from outer space. They cannot be from Earth. And they have ways of testing that as far as like the way the elements are formed. They can tell when it's from Earth or when it's from outside of our solar system. So these are the first ones found from that early, from 3.3 billion years ago. It's like carbon molecules, the basis of what we form life with. And so this further proves, not proves, but shows that panspermia is a very real theory, which basically is saying that people say, how did Earth come about, or how did life come about on Earth? And we think it might be panspermia, where it came from comets, meteorites coming to Earth and putting the building blocks of life on Earth, and then cosmic radiation kind of sparking it into what we are today, which is fascinating. So the quote from the person says, this is the very first time that we have found actual evidence for extraterrestrial carbon in terrestrial rocks. The very first time, says astrobiologist Francis Westall from the Center for Molecular Biophysics in France. The organic matter from the carbon-rich meteorites must have been raining down at quite a high rate. And writes Tingley from the article, according to the study, the extraterrestrial compounds likely fell to Earth as part of a micrometeorite swarm, which exploded in the atmosphere and mixed with volatile volcanic ash. If confirmed, this discovery may prove to be some of the first evidence we have so-called soft panspermia, or molecular panspermia, theories which argue that rather than full-on life forms landing on Earth aboard comets, perhaps merely the chemical building blocks landed here and eventually began the reactions that led to abiogenesis. So this is a big discovery. It's pretty fascinating in that we, although we don't know where life first started, we just know that the building blocks for life could have come here from a meteorite. This is the biggest evidence we've had of that since. So that's pretty cool.
All right, you got science this time, but I got my eyes on you.
That's why I'm being more discriminatory now. I'm like, this is really scientific and really interesting and fascinating, not some like weird alien UFO thing, but it's really cool, and that it explains how life might have come on Earth, not Adam and Eve. None of that shit. So there we go.
All right,
that's my nerdy news. So what you got for us, Steve?
So my cheeky title for my cheeky story is "Take Me to Dinner First." Tel Aviv University has been studying the feeding behaviors of Egyptian fruit bats.
Egyptian fruit bats. Okay.
Yeah, that these bats have some bats that go out and do foraging for fruit, and then they come back, and they're these bats they call scroungers, who go and they basically beg fruit off of these other bats.
Huh.
And so they were looking at why this relationship was happening, because it's very rare. And they found that the ones going out to gather the fruit were males, and the ones doing the scrounging were females. And this started weeks before mating took place. This would begin to happen, where females would go and beg food off a bunch, and then would eventually start mooching pretty much exclusively off one. And then they basically exchanged fruit for sex.
Oh,
so transaction. They started looking at the next batch of offspring and doing paternity tests on them with this group of bats, and found that most of the time when a female went and got fruit from a male over and over and over again, that she ended up having his pup.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So take me to dinner first.
I want
your fruit.
But yeah, I think it was funny at first that she goes around and mooches off a bunch early on. I like that aspect of it.
And then finds the one who has the most success and like wants his babies.
Or the one who's willing to tolerate giving up his food.
That's true. Well, very interesting.
Yeah.
I love the weird stories you bring of our animals and our current Earth.
Oh yeah.
They're just fascinating.
And now some trash to rot your mind. I started looking at, there's some movie I saw recently that had a sequel, and I went, what the hell? When the hell did that get a sequel? And I thought to myself, there's got to be more movies like this. So sure enough, I went out and found a bunch of movies that you didn't know have sequels.
Movie sequels you didn't know existed.
That's right. So you know that your favorite movie where the dog dies at the end? Well, it got a sequel. No, not you, old yeller. It's Marley and Me, the Puppy Years.
That's the one with that had Owen Wilson, right?
It did. The first one. They made a sequel.
Oh, boy.
Need more mean in your life? Well, then check out Mean Girls 2.
Really?
Yes.
That had a sequel?
Do you love Patrick Swayze? Then you're going to hate Roadhouse 2.
Oh, no.
Carrie 2, The Rage.
Oh, I did know that existed.
Sissy Spacek was offered a cameo, even though she died in the original film. And her turning it down is the only good decision in the entire movie. Splash 2 happened.
Wow. Not with Daryl Hannah, I take it.
No, and not with Tom Hanks. Then if you want to see a sequel where not a single original actor signed on, then you can check out I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer.
Well, they had a few sequels for that one, didn't they?
Yeah, they had multiple sequels for that one, but this one, not a thing. It's completely detached.
I will always know.
I will always know.
It's very important.
What's that? You want more Third Rock from the Sun star French Stewart? Well, Hollywood heard ya, and here's Home Alone 4.
Oh, God. Was he the child?
No, he was like one of the burglars, I think.
Oh, French Stewart. He's been gone for a long time.
And then Addams Family Reunion. Lurch is back. He's the only one. The only one that came back was Lurch.
But that's what's his face? That's
perfect. So it was Raul Julia in the original.
No, Lurch is what Doc from Back to the Future.
What? No, false. You're thinking of Lester.
Uncle
Lester,
you're right.
Lester.
I'm thinking of Lester. You're right. Absolutely.
Uncle Fester. Nailed it.
Right. Fester, not Lurch. Lurch was nobody.
Yeah, Lurch was the butler, the tall. So he's back. So Raul Julia was in the original. And once again, we're sorry, Mr. Raul Julia, about Street Fighter.
My apologies.
But surprisingly good recasting with Tim Curry.
Oh, well, I'm down with that.
See? Yeah, I was kind of down with that too.
That flick could be all right. As long as it's not post-stroke like Tim Curry, then it's fine.
Yeah, it's way pre.
Gotcha.
So that's some movie sequels that you didn't know happened.
But they did, unfortunately.
They did. So you should go check them out and then weep.
So in our film that we're eventually going to cover here, there's a lot of scenes in prison. So Steve has a segment here with some prison slang, I believe.
That's right. So I can't remember, at some point in the past, we also talked about prisons. And I did a trivia game with Jarman where I told him a slang word or term, and he had to take a guess at what it meant.
Oh, boy.
If he gets right, he gets big points. If he gets it wrong, he gets nothing. All right. Are you ready?
This is going to be terrible, but let's go.
So there are 7 terms. All right. Bum beef.
Oh.
As in, hey, man, that's some bum beef.
Like you're trying not to be my my bum lover, so I'm gonna say, hey man, that's some bum beef. You gotta be my bum lover.
What the hell? All right, no, that wasn't even remotely close.
Okay, good.
It's a false charge.
Oh,
and he's got bum beef.
Gotcha.
All right, the monster.
The monster. Like the one guy who everyone tries to be their muscle.
That's actually a pretty good guess. No, it's HIV.
Oh, Jesus. That's not close at all. What are you talking about?
No, so it's a good guess. I didn't say it was close.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, better guess, but not close.
All day. Then, man, I'm here all day.
I'm always watching.
No, it means you have a life sentence.
Oh.
I'm here all day.
I'm failing all this shit.
If someone's asking you about your peels, what are they asking you about?
Like your appeal to your sentence.
No. I like where your head went. It's your orange jumpsuit is your peel.
That's boring.
What?
It should have been smarter and went with appeals.
Brake fluid.
Brake fluid. That's finding some booze.
No, it's psychiatric medication.
Where do you find this stuff?
Dude, the internet. What do you mean, where do I find this stuff? All right, a cell warrior.
Cell warrior. A guy who's good at getting the goods, like cigarettes and stuff and goods for your cell.
Like Red from Shawshank Redemption?
Sure.
No. It's a guy who's real tough and puts on a big tough facade when the doors are closed. But once he's out in public, he's like a little.
I see. All right.
Petrified and plays it down. All right. So here's the last one. Jack Rabbit Parole.
Jack Rabbit Parole.
And hey, I'm planning on getting that Jack Rabbit Parole.
That jackass, I'm going to make it so he can't get parole.
Okay. So stopping someone else from getting parole?
Yeah.
No, it's when you just escape prison. You get that Jack Rabbit Parole.
I failed all of those.
Yeah, you did not get a single one even.
I'm proud of that because I'm never going to prison. So we're good.
That's right.
So 0 out of 1 million.
And then I was going to do this one. This one's just too tough. You'd never get it. But so there's this thing called Picking Up Roadkill, where prison roadside work crews collect half and near finished cigarette butts while they're picking up trash and doing work on the side of the road. And they scavenge them and smuggle them back in, and they take whatever tobacco's left out and they re-roll new smokes.
Oh, wow. That's terrible.
And they call it Picking Up Roadkill.
Jail. Jail is terrible, folks.
Don't do jail. All right, and now we're going to talk about our final Muppet movie in this review season, Muppets Most Wanted.
We're doing a sequel. That's what we do in Hollywood. And everybody knows that the sequel's never quite as good. A sequel.
Yeah.
Another feature.
Wait till it gets to the part. I love it.
Places, please. Light the lights. Roll camera. Action. I thought it was the end, but
hold on, here we go.
Friends, this is when we get to do it all again.
That part.
Do it all again.
I love the do it all again part. That was just so fun.
So yeah, it's sequel to The Muppets 2011. And I think a very strong entry into the Muppet canon.
Yeah, there's definitely, I'll talk about later the parts I didn't like so much, but absolutely a strong entry. Absolutely.
Oh, there's plenty of things about this I also do not like.
Right.
So don't worry about that.
But I think overall, the thing we can say about this film is that even though the Muppets, the first like kind of reboot movie, had a lot of things that people who are traditionalists didn't like, this movie addressed a lot of those things, which is weird, but it did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll bring them up later, but like, yeah, just, I think we first will go through like the plot of it, but like we'll go through as we go through and say what things we found.
All right. It starts literally at the exact end moment of the last film. They're literally finishing the movie.
Yeah.
All the extras leave. They turn around. There's more cameras there. And that's when they realize, in very Muppet breaking the fourth wall fashion, that, oh no, they're doing a sequel.
And that's the thing too, is that I remember you even saying when we were reviewing the last film that it was like the first one that didn't say it was making a movie. Didn't you say something like that?
Maybe,
because this one like officially deals with the fact that that was a movie within a movie. And the last one, it didn't act like they were making a movie as the Muppets. And so this one officially says like, oh, we just finished making a movie. That was totally a movie that we were making as the Muppets.
Yeah.
And
true.
so like, it was like, it addressed that immediately, which fans probably were a little upset with, because like the Muppets are always doing a production of something. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So it was interesting. I like that.
Well, it's just the movie about how they got back together.
Yeah, exactly. But there, instead of it being real, like this was really happening, they were making a movie of that happening, which was very meta. Right. It was very meta and weird.
And then we're within a dream within a dream.
Exactly. Inception.
Triggered.
But then the sequel number pops up that we just heard for our intro there. And the sequel number I thought was fantastic. I loved it. It was so fun.
I thought it was great too. And so here's one of my overarching points comes up immediately after this. Is why did they give this movie such a dumb name?
Muppets Most Wanted.
This, like, for a movie that I think overall has some good integrity, this is just clearly like somebody at Disney corporate was like, no, that's Muppets Again isn't catchy enough.
Right, because even in the song they talk about Muppets Again. This can be the name of the movie.
It's the Muppets Again, and that was the working title up through all of production.
And for some reason they changed it to Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been either. It wouldn't matter. Like who cares?
I care. It should have been Muppets again.
No, I agree. I'm saying like why did they change it? They shouldn't have, because it wouldn't have mattered.
Some executive thought they had a good idea.
Yeah.
So they start out and they realize they're making a sequel. And then the question becomes, now that the Muppets are back together, which we just saw in the last film, what are they going to go do? And luckily, there's someone there to lend them guidance, a guy named Nicholas Bad Guy.
Who says,
by Ricky
let's
Gervais.
do a world tour. Sounds like a great idea. World tour.
So they said, yeah, the Muppets are going to go on a world tour. So they start out in Berlin.
And I have to say that like most people hate Ricky Gervais, but I've always really enjoyed Ricky Gervais. I like him.
And then you cut to the Russian gulag, where there's a prison escape of a mysterious frog, and it's a character called Constantine, who's basically just evil Kermit.
Kermit with a mole.
Kermit with a mole.
Yeah.
So he escapes. He's in cahoots with Ricky Gervais's character, and he is going to meet them in Berlin.
Right.
So they get to Berlin. Kermit has them booked into like these little small venues so they can work the show. Ricky Gervais books them into like the National Theater, which they aren't ready for.
Right.
And encourages Kermit to go out on a walk. Kermit goes out on the walk. The mysterious frog appears, slaps a mole on Kermit, and then disappears, and frames Kermit as the terrible villainous frog Constantine.
So Kermit is taken to a gulag in Russia and Siberia.
A Russian gulag. And Constantine goes and joins the Muppets. And Constantine pretending to be Kermit is maybe one of the funniest things to happen in either of the most recent Muppets.
My notes was Constantine as Kermit is pretty hilarious. That's why I wrote my notes.
So good.
Especially that initial scene where he's like,
to listen to everything that I say. I am Kermit. Yes.
And then when he's talking to Ricky Gervais, I wrote down in quotations, Bulgari. Wait,
Bulgari.
It's a hard word to say actually by yourself. Bulgari. But he's trying to say it in a Russian accent. Bulgari. We're going to be burglars. Burglary.
And throughout this, you get a couple really good musical numbers.
And I read this time all the fantastic cameos too. Let me just list off real quick. The guy from Modern Family is a pretty big role. I can't remember his name as the actor.
He is the second best part of this movie.
Yeah, he plays a French detective, kind of like Inspector Clouseau, which is really great with Eagle.
Paired up with Sam the Eagle for like a plot. This movie has 3 plots going on, and they all are pretty good.
But we have Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga, Christoph Waltz, James McAvoy, Jermaine Clement, Ray Liotta, Jenny Trejo, Tina Fey, Josh Groban in the solitary confinement cell, Salma Hayek, Puff Daddy, Saoirse Ronan, Celine Dion, Chloe Grace Moretz, Tom Hiddleston, Usher, Stanley Tucci, Zach Galifianakis, and Frank Langella, amongst a few more too that you might recognize. It's ridiculous. There's so many in this movie.
That is very Muppety, and it's something I'm so glad they brought back.
Oh yeah. But still, my favorite cameo of all time in Muppet movies was what's his name? The detective. My God,
detective.
He had the old detective TV show. He's and hey, here I am. I'm talking to you now. My eye's crazy over here. What does that guy say? No idea. Come on. He was with Kermit in that one scene, talking to him.
From the Great Muppet Caper.
Yes. What is his name?
I don't know, not Kojak. What the hell is it?
Actually, I think I found the answer to your question.
The grandfather from Princess Bride. What the fuck is his name?
What is his name?
I'm looking it up.
He was my favorite cameo of Muppets ever. What is it?
I don't know. I know I'm close. But
Look it up. This is important.
This is what this show is about.
Yes. Because that scene with him and Kermit was my favorite of all the Muppets so far. And I've watched all the movies now. Not Manny Patinkin.
Peter Falk. I was pretty close.
But
Peter Falk.
What is his character that he played? Columbo. Dear God. Peter Falk Columbo. He was the best cameo of any of the Muppet movies in my all time.
That's because he had more than a cameo. It was like a 3-minute thing.
Yeah, and it was a great scene with him like inspiring Kermit. It was fantastic. So yeah.
Jerk Bernie down the street. Yeah, it's a great one.
Hey, actually, I think okay. But anyway, so sorry. I cut you off. We're talking about Bulgari.
Bulgari. I am Kermit. And so then they go and they play the Berlin National Theater, and this is when you realize that Constantine and Bad Guy are working together to rob locations that are next to the theaters that the Muppets are performing at,
which are typically museums because they're doing a weird heist that will lead them to the crown jewels of London. So they're trying to get right
and a painting with a
locket.
Map. It's like a really poor man's national treasure.
Right.
So then they get these rave reviews in Berlin and they head on to Spain. Does that sound right?
Madrid? I think so. Yeah.
Head off to Madrid. Cut back to Kermit at the Gulag explaining that he is not Constantine. Great parts by Danny Trejo, Ray Liotta, and Jermaine Clement.
Jermaine Clement, I love so much.
Just so good. Danny Trejo has one of the laugh out line moment that only works because he is who he is. Later on, when she's saying good night to all the different,
I wrote that down too.
Good night to all the different prisoners. Good night, prison king. Good night. Good night. Whatever Ray Liotta character. Good night. Good night, Danny Trejo.
He's playing himself.
Just being Danny Trejo.
Which is fantastic. I laughed out loud that line too. I was like, "Oh my god, he's just Danny Trejo."
Tries some cheap ploys to escape prison. Tina Fey thwarts him. He eventually decides that he is going to participate in the prison talent show.
She basically forces him to. Tina Fey's character.
And so that's what Kermit's working on for most of the rest of the film.
Right.
Cut back. They're in Madrid. Selma Hayek is there doing, I don't know, the indoor running of the bulls because Constantine has let the show just go wild.
Because they don't care how bad it is, because Constantine and Bad Guy, played by Ricky Gervais, are paying off the crowds to come in and give standing ovations.
And the newspapers to write reviews. And
right.
So meanwhile, Sam the Eagle and this French detective played by the guy from Modern Family, I can't remember. It's just so enjoyable.
It's great.
So incredibly enjoyable. When Sam the Eagle is talking about, don't you have satellites or blinking or trackers or SODAR? And he goes, no, here at Interpol, we just use a map with little blinking lights.
Oh, look, blinking light. I found one.
He's drinking tea and he goes, the light, she is blinking. We must go.
And he's actually a pretty good singer. There are a couple points in the song they sang. He was pretty good.
Their musical number where they're interrogating the Muppets is my favorite in the entire movie.
It was very well done. I like that one a lot.
So meanwhile, some of the Muppets are starting to get wise to Constantine. They keep performing. They keep stealing things. Eventually, Walter, Animal, and Fozzie confront Constantine, and they run off and they go and save Kermit.
And at one point, Constantine pisses off Miss Piggy, and she's like, why is Kermit being so mean? And Ricky Gervais's character was like, you have to keep appearances up. You have to appease Miss Piggy. So he goes and sings her a song, and that I thought was the worst song in the whole movie.
It was.
I just didn't like it. It wasn't catchy. It wasn't sung very well. Like it was just.
I'll make your dreams come true.
Yeah, just like I didn't like his voice. I thought the song wasn't catchy or good. But otherwise, I love the movie. It's just that song I thought was very weak.
I read something that said that originally that was supposed to be like an Elvis copycat song.
Right, and then they kind of like changed it up or something because it just wasn't.
Made it a disco tune.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
So they go. It's the night of the talent show at the Gulag. They rescue Kermit. They do a musical number, working in the coal mine, and dig their way out and escape.
Working in the coal mine.
Meanwhile, Constantine asks Piggy to marry him at the Tower of London, the final location that he needs to get to.
The Crown Jewels.
They head to London to stop the wedding.
And by the way, I mean to cut in here is that Kate and I were at the Tower of London for the Crown Jewels. And the line was so long that we just said, no, we'll just walk around. We don't want to go to see the Crown Jewels. So we were there next to them, but we did not see the Crown Jewels.
Yeah, the hell with that.
Yeah, it was too long. Sorry.
So Kermit manages to stop the wedding, proving that he is the real Kermit because he does not necessarily want to marry Piggy.
Right.
Which is kind of sad and funny. Constantine runs off with Piggy. Ricky Gervais reveals that he is the lemur and has a funny costume on. They try to escape. You get to see Muppet Ladder.
Right. All the Muppets.
Was like a fun thing, especially with Muppet Man in the last movie, where they hold the helicopter and they're able to defeat Constantine. And in the end, they all go and perform at the Gulag.
And a funny line that also goes along my original theme that they're kind of recuperating from the last movie is that Rizzo says a line that I loved where he's like, that last movie was maybe at the expense of other long-standing Muppets. Come on, Robin. And Robin comes by.
Yeah.
Because Rizzo is, I've said on other podcasts, my favorite Muppets. Now that I've watched all the movies, he's one of my favorites, and he had the very little lines in the last movie.
Well, I'll be interested if we ever see Rizzo again.
Why is that?
That's Steve Whitmire.
He's fired.
Steve Whitmire is a major character. Yeah, he's fired.
I hope they can find somebody who can do one of. And why was he fired? Do we ever know why he was fired?
It was from what I understand, and what Brian Henson came out and said, and what Steve said, is that it was like a creative control kind of issue.
Huh.
Where he thought that he was synonymous with Kermit, and so he had control over the brand and what they were going to do.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They said no.
Well, now the guy who played Constantine's taking over for Kermit. So
yeah, Matt Vogel.
Yeah. So I hope something else to Rizzo, because he's my favorite character going forward. And then he was upset. That line was great though, because the last movie he got short shrift, and then Robin we haven't seen barely in any of the movies. I think he was just
not in a long time.
Yeah. And then the babies, I had to mention, they use these weird Muppet babies things for the crime scene, and they were creepy as hell. I don't know where they came from. Were they in something else before?
The Muppet, the creepy little fat faced
I wanted to ask you about that. Are they from something else?
They've been around for a long time
because they were weird.
They were used on the Muppet Show. They've been in the movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't remember seeing them before. And then the ending, they do the talent show, or not the talent show. They do a big show at the Gulag, and it ended very anticlimactically. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the ending. The whole movie.
I feel like them just taking a song from one of the other movies.
Together again. Yeah.
It was just, they built me a nice sundae to eat, and then they took it and they topped it off with a Tootsie Roll.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's anything wrong with a Tootsie Roll. It's just not what goes on top of a freshly made sundae.
It did not work for me. That ending just was very the whole movie was pretty darn good, and then that ending was just okay, all right. I don't know.
Mind you, it was a chance for them to get a curtain call for all the cameos, which was cute and nice.
They even had Tony Bennett up there on the wall, the ice wall.
He's 104 or something.
Yeah, it's impressive. And Lady Gaga and all that shit that was in the movie. But yeah, I feel like it was an almost smash hit, but it was it just went down to a good entry into the series.
Right. I think it had some great musical numbers.
It did.
It should give you everything you want. Wasn't make your dream come, whatever the hell it is. It wasn't that good, but I love the interrogation. I love the opening song.
And my earlier complaints from some of the other films, the earlier films were the songs lasted too long. That didn't happen this time. They were short, to the point. The only bad song was the Constantine one. I thought that one's kind of sucked, but otherwise all the songs were really fun and catchy and entertaining.
But yeah, so that's the last of the Muppet movies for right now.
For now, yeah.
I hope not forever, but at least for a while.
And even after we do Star Trek Beyond, hopefully there's more Muppet movies, and hopefully there's more Star Trek movies. There's supposedly a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie out there. And hopefully Disney will reuse this property again if they're smart. So we'll be reviewing those films when they come out.
But it might be 5 years from now.
Yeah, maybe. But we'll be around 5 years from now, so we're gonna make it happen.
So that closes out our Muppet reviews. That's it. German, you did it. You watched all the Muppet movies.
And this was the only one I had not seen anything of before, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Good. So now to finish up and wrap up the prison theme, I've got some of the greatest escapes in U.S. and world history.
So real escapes.
Yeah. So John Dillinger cut a trail of mayhem through the Midwest, robbing banks and police stations, killed 10 people along the way. They finally captured him in Tucson and put him in, at the time, what was deemed an inescapable jail. Well, him and another guy carved a fake gun out of scrap wood. They dyed it black with shoe polish, and they tricked a guard and forced their way out.
To make him think it was a real gun.
Yeah, and then to add insult to injury, they stole the sheriff's brand new Ford V8 to escape.
That's funny. That's like 1930s, maybe.
Frank Abagnale, who was the subject of the movie Catch Me If You Can.
Ah, yeah.
Once broke out of a prison due to a clerical error and some current events. So the U.S. Marshal that brought him and dropped him off at prison after he had been caught lost his submission papers and said they were going to send new ones. Before the new ones could arrive, he convinced a few guards that he was a federal investigator. Because at the time, U.S. prisons were under heavy scrutiny for civil rights violations and were under congressional investigation. So he built up this story so much, and he convinced the guards that he needed to speak with a contact on the outside. Wow. They let him walk out of the prison gates. He hopped into a car and just disappeared.
That guy must have been a genius.
They caught him, I think, 4 months later or something like that. A Korean guy named Choi Gap Boy, who is a yoga guru, was able to escape prison by contorting his body through the little food slot they have in the door.
What?
And escaped.
How? He's been tiny.
And then a guy named Alfred Wetzler, and he is credited with one of the most historically significant escapes ever. He escaped Auschwitz.
Oh, wow.
Him and another guy hid in a woodpile for 4 days, covered in gasoline and tobacco, in order to trick the dogs and not smelling. When they got out, they put on stolen clothes and then trekked over 80 miles to Slovakia. The reason this was so significant is
80 miles?
Yeah. Wetzler brought with him reports on exactly how the camp worked. He had ground plans and details about the gas chamber layout, as well as a label from a Zyklon B bottle, which was the gas that they were using.
Wow.
And his report was viewed as the first credible report about the death camps that the Allies received.
That's incredible.
And the information he had on him additionally led to a railway depot that the Nazis were using to transport Jews to be bombed, killing a bunch of Nazi leadership and saving and blocking 120,000 Hungarian Jews from being taken.
And what was his name?
His name was Alfred Wetzler.
That name should be more famous. My God, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So that's considered the most significant in world history.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
good one, Steve. That was good.
That closes us out and takes us on to some trailer reviews.
Let's do it.
Here at A Play on Nerds, we have spent years refining our exclusive trailer rating system.
At the low end of the scale, we have Burn It, where we think you should find every copy you can get your hands on and throw it into a barrel fire. To burn it, Fahrenheit 451 style.
And second from the bottom, we have We'll See. Maybe the trailer was too short, maybe it was cut oddly, or maybe we don't know what the hell we just watched.
We'll see. Up next, we have Give It a Buck. Whether you hit a red box, a dollar movie theater in the bad part of town, or a cheap online rental, give this movie a buck and enjoy it without breaking the bank.
And at the top of our rating system, we have Shut Up and Take My Money. The wallets have been charmed out of our pockets, and we are ready to make our hard-earned cash disappear.
And that's our patent-pending trailer rating system for A Play on Nerds.
All right, we have some good ones for you this week. We have, first off, Terminator Dark Fate, which apparently is ignoring every film after Terminator 2, is what I...
Yeah, it's a sequel to Terminator 2. That's what James Cameron has pretty much said.
So 3 and what's the other one after that? It was
3 and Salvation.
Salvation and then Genesis are just fucked. They're just gone.
Genesis.
All right.
Yeah.
So here is that trailer cut down for just the dialogue, because there's a lot of sound.
Not much.
Here's just the dialogue. Here we go.
2 days ago, I had this nice, simple life. And now it's a nightmare.
Who are you?
My name is Sarah Connor. Never seen one like you before. Almost human.
I am human. Why do you care what happens to her?
Because I was her.
How do we win?
We win by keeping you alive.
So from that audio, you probably can't tell what the fuck is going on, and neither can we. But from the video, you also can't tell what the hell's going on or what the plot's going to be. Or I'm just glad Sarah Connor's involved, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like John Connor has been saved, or John Connor died maybe eventually,
because he's not in this trailer at all. Yeah,
right. Somehow the other Terminator came back again. Maybe they've got a lot to explain to do when it comes to Arnold.
Lots of explaining to do.
And now this is another person that the machines have designated as integral.
A young Latino woman, I believe.
I think so.
Right.
It's this thing. Sarah Connor says, like, I was her. So she is carrying the next savior of humanity.
And they do show, it's funny because Schwarzenegger is not in much of this trailer at all. He's in one shot. He's in a little bit more of the previous trailer they had out. But this one, they just show him answering the door, and he's just old Arnold, not hiding it. And so, yeah, I don't know what Terminator he would have been, because in Terminator 2, he dies. He goes into lava.
Right. He gets fully melted down, Terminator 2.
So we have no idea. But I like the trailer. It looks like it's well made and not as cheesy as Genesis, perhaps.
Yeah, true.
It looks like
this one gets, for me, this one gets, we'll see.
I did the same thing. We'll see. Because the director was the same guy who did Deadpool.
Okay.
So could be something interesting. But they've been fledgling with this franchise for a while, so who knows what the hell's going on. But yeah, I'll probably see it in theaters. But yeah, I agree that we'll see. I need to see another trailer or some reviews, and maybe
this
then
could go south real quick.
What was that?
So that could go south real quick.
Yeah, it could for sure. So what is our second one though? You're excited about this, Steve?
The next one, holy crap! The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance.
And I think I talked about seeing the first Dark Crystal. Didn't we review like a whole episode about Dark Crystal?
We did. That was you watched Dark Crystal and I watched Zero Charisma, maybe?
Oh, it was our favorite movie reviews. That's right.
Yeah.
We still have to do those eventually. We haven't finished that.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a long time.
But I love Dark Crystal. It was a lot of fun. It was great.
But the Netflix series prequel to the movie, and Anna, my wife, will attest, I was giddy excited watching this.
And am I wrong, but were they planning to do a movie originally and now it's become a Netflix thing?
I don't know if this is exactly based off that or not, but yes, the movie was in talks and discussions for 15 years.
And it was going to be a prequel.
Yes, I believe so.
So now this is the preview. There's not much, folks. Sorry. It's just, there's a lot of, please watch the trailer. It's a lot of beautiful visuals, but this is just the dialogue that was in the trailer. I cut it down so we can
so much great stuff you get to see.
Oh yeah.
All the different characters and creatures, a situation called the Darkening, which is so exciting. And the Skeksis, when they were sort of in the height of their power.
We'll talk about it in a second. Here we go. Here's what we can hear dialogue wise.
Oh, I thought you were saying it to watch.
All Thra is at risk. The Darkening corrupts everything it touches.
What is the Darkening?
Behold.
I see many endings lay before us. Some good, most bad. What have the Skeksis done? Tell no one.
Okay, the best part is the at the end.
I am so excited. This is the Skeksis after the second conjunction, when they split, the race into, they're still in a position of power and they hold the power over the crystal. The Gelfling civilization is at its height.
Right.
And it's clear that the Skeksis realize that they can drain the vital essence, like we see in the movie, out of the Gelfling. And this is the war that ensues surrounding that.
So it's like 100 years or something before what we saw in the other film.
Longer, probably.
Okay. I need to watch Dark Crystal again before I watch this, of course.
Well, the Great Conjunction comes every 1,000 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
So the split happened after that. So this is in theory a couple hundred years, maybe after the last Great Conjunction. So maybe 800 years.
Wow. What a like a big world that Henson made. Like beyond.
I wish I could give the credit to Henson. Most of the world building stuff has been Brian Froud, who was the designer for a lot of it, and has since, with the go ahead from the Henson Company, continued to produce lore,
like for novels and that kind of thing.
Yeah, sort of, and like compendium kind of stuff.
Nice. So
a lot of this you would never get from the movie, but I'm so excited for them to get into it. So excited.
And the cool thing is, it's all practical still, like the old film. A lot of puppets.
Yeah, but they're adding in digital where it's appropriate, and
exactly like subtle CGI is what I wrote in my notes. Like subtle CGI, not like
they
in your face.
Put a Gartham puppet up on the ceiling, but I was still excited to see one skitter across the ceiling.
Right.
It's
like watching Dark Crystal with a bigger budget in the modern times, and without them overdoing it with CGI, which is nice.
Holy crap! I am so giddy, like just stupid excited, just stupid excited.
And so, what do you give it? Should I take my money because you already have Netflix?
Has my money. I will buy a second account so I can watch it on 2 screens simultaneously when it comes.
Oh wow, that's a big endorsement, folks.
That's right.
And we're not going to watch it for our next episode. It'll be too long, but I have to give an honorable mention to Rambo. Just got Rambo Last Blood was a trailer that came out. I'm not going to play it, but you can guess what it looks like and what it sounds like.
War, you gotta become war.
So he comes out of retirement to hits up some Mexican cartels because of reasons. So, but it's a trailer you should watch because it's funny and it looks like a great like 80s style action flick with Rambo kicking ass one last time as a geriatric guy. So check out that trailer too. Rambo Last Blood. It will be fun. I will see it. Maybe not in theaters, but I will watch that movie.
And speaking of recommendations, that takes us into some radical recommends.
It sure as hell does.
I recommend.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
All right, so what you got for us this week, Steve?
So this week in my continuing dive of YouTube, I found these guys called the Dungeon Dudes.
Sounds good.
And they're just these 2 avid Dungeons and Dragons players who pick specific spells or specific lists. The best cantrips, the best first level spells, best ways to use Find Familiar, best ways to use Prestidigitation. All these sort of microcosms within D&D, and they just sit and kind of riff about them, and they clarify rules and get into some of the more creative things that they as players or that their players have done.
So it's like really hacking the game, trying to make it work the best for you, basically.
It's not even that. For them, it's like a lot of, how can you use Prestidigitation?
Oh, fun ways to use it and that kind of thing.
There is a little bit of that hacky kind of stuff. I'm not going to lie, but a lot of it's like, well, here's how you can get the most out of Mage Hand.
Right.
A lot of people are like, well, you could use it for distraction, or maybe you try to tie your enemy's shoes together on the battlefield, or undo their belt buckle, or tap them on the shoulder.
Right.
They get into a lot of that kind of stuff. So I recommend them highly. Dungeon Dudes. They've got these like short kind of 20, 25 minutes where they break down something. They also have some play sessions of a campaign they're doing that I haven't checked out yet, but I think that's next on my list.
Gotcha. Well, that's right up our alley.
It is Dungeon Dudes.
And they're definitely playing 5 5.0 or whatever, 5th edition?
Most of the discussions surround 5e, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's what we're playing. That's great. So Dungeon Dudes, folks, check it out.
What do you have for us?
Mine is not as indie as I would have liked. I looked through my my subscribing list on podcasts, and I just haven't been watching a lot of YouTube lately. I hope to get more into that again soon. But I just fell into Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a show that people have been watching for years, but I just have not checked out until recently. And it's made by Michael Schur, who's a producer who I've always appreciate all the shows he's worked on. He did a little bit with The Office, a lot with Parks and Rec, but his baby was The Good Place, which I freaking love. The Good Place. But he does.
You have recommended that before.
You what?
You have recommended that before.
Yes. And so Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he's like a major executive producer on, and it is actually hilarious because I've not always liked the guy from Lonely Island, who's the host, who's the
Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg. I've always been a huge fan of Andy Samberg, but he takes it down a notch in the show, and he's actually playing it straight, kind of. And he's not the funniest part of the show. The captain and Terry Crews in the show are amazing. And I've had so much more laughing out loud moments in the show that I've ever had with Parks and Rec and The Office, which I love those shows, but I don't laugh out loud as much as I do with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I do highly recommend it. It's on Hulu, not Netflix, but if you check out Hulu, you can find it. And NBC picked it up after Fox canceled it. So NBC now has all the rights to it and is now making new seasons. But it's now all on Hulu, and it's actually really funny. So I highly recommend it. So Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that's my radical recommend.
Oh, well, that means it's not going to be on Hulu for long.
Why is that? Oh, because they're bought by
Disney just bought controlling stake of Hulu, and ABC is pulling most of their content, to my understanding.
Well, no, ABC
going to start their own streaming service.
Well, ABC's content will go to the Disney Plus thing probably, but Hulu has all networks on it. So
I might be thinking of NBC.
Well, NBC is not owned by Disney. ABC is owned by Disney.
Okay, good. Well, Hulu is now controlled by Disney, and most of their competitors are pulling their programming.
Well, until NBC has its own streaming network, I don't think they'll pull things from Hulu because Hulu has every network on it. It has a cable channel on it, so you can get. I have my cable TV off of Hulu right now, so I pay.
I'm just telling you what the internet said, man.
Well, I'm just saying, like that. Yeah, Disney's gonna pull all their Disney content off of Hulu, but the other people aren't going to pull their stuff off of Hulu because it's the only place where they're streaming right now. So unless NBC makes their own streaming,
I don't know, my Apple TV has an NBC app. It's pretty bad.
I'm sure it is. So it might be a while though. So for right now, you can find Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Hulu and nowhere else. Maybe the NBC app it'll be terrible with tons of commercials. But if you have Hulu already with no commercials, I recommend Hulu.
All right. Well, that wraps up our episode 121 of A Play on Nerds.
Absolutely.
And it also wraps up our review of Muppet films, at least for probably a few years, if I had to guess.
And we have one more Star Trek film, Star Trek Beyond, to come up probably in about 3 weeks. We'll maybe cover that one.
We're going to rank all of them for you, and then we're done. We're done with it until there's new ones.
That was our big series, man. 2 years, I think, in the making.
Yeah, 2 years and some change, I think. But until next time, we will keep coming back and being your nerdy co-host if you guys keep coming back and being our nerdy audience. Thanks again, Internet.
Stay nerdy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Find all of this content and even more nerdy news, reviews, and fun at www.aplayonnerds.com.
Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter so you know the exact second we release new podcasts, articles, and other nerdy content. We know you're impatient.
Subscribe to us on iTunes, Podbean, Buzzsprout, Podomatic, and whatever the hell else you use.
Also, please leave us a rating and review on your chosen podcast platform so we can be discovered by even more nerds like yourself.
However you do it, check us out.
And how.